The Hong Kong education system has a history of lots and lots of innovation. I mean, I think teachers in schools have had to deal with so much change, change imposed from the top over the last, I mean, I've been here nearly 20 years, I've worked throughout that period. So, and there's a tendency in all these cases for those innovations to be introduced rather quickly, with teachers often feeling that they're not given sufficient preparation time and so on. I mean, in relation to this particular reform, which is a huge reform, but I mean it is a reform that has been talked about and discussed, and that people have known is going to happen for quite a few years now. So in that sense, at least psychologically, one would have hoped that teachers would have been ready for the changes. But I mean, I think in practical terms, it's probably true that they do feel underprepared. I mean, I mentioned the liberal studies case, but I mean, I think that teachers working at the senior secondary level in the more traditional subjects feel the same thing. And I think that in many schools, I think they're probably sort of putting off the evil hour where they have to get to grips with what is particularly distinctive about the senior secondary curriculum, because they're still working with secondary 4 students, so it's not necessarily going to be too different from what they did before, and they're finding their way into it. But I mean, within the faculty, we're doing various things. I mean, we do have liberal studies courses for pre-service teachers and in-service teachers, preparing that workforce, so the future liberal studies teachers, but also providing support to the current liberal studies teachers. We also, within each of the subject areas where we work with serving teachers and pre-service teachers, ensured that we have a focus on new senior secondary curriculum and how teachers should adapt and can adapt to that. So I mean, we're doing what we can, but it is a difficult thing. I think very often in these cases, the people involved in implementing an innovation don't get to grips with the reality of it until it hits them. I mean, it's always, you can always say, well, that's going to happen in 2 years' time, that's going to happen in 1 year's time, so we won't worry about that for the moment. But I think it's a common response that people feel underprepared. But it is a challenge. We've all got to work to try and help teachers cope with that challenge.